Hey guys, I'm Rich Woods from NeoWin. Today we're unboxing the Lumia 650. Now, before I do that, I'm going to talk about the specs and compare it a little bit to the Lumia 640 and the Lumia 550, because those are kind of the two obvious ones. Now, if you don't want to see me talk, you want to skip right to the unboxing, just scrub forward on YouTube and see where we got the close-up to where I'm taking it out of the box. Right, so a lot of people were disappointed with the Lumia 650 here because it has a Snapdragon 212 processor. I get it, Snapdragon 200 series, that's Qualcomm's low end. The last two generations of Lumia 600 series were Snapdragon 400. Isn't that a downgrade? Well, not really. Snapdragon 200 and 400 were both 1.2 gigahertz quad-core A7, ARM Cortex-A7. Right, so the CPU, pretty much the same. Now the difference is the Snapdragon 400 had a better GPU, which was Adreno 305, where the Snapdragon 200 had Adreno 302. Also, Snapdragon 400 supported LTE, 1080p video recording, stuff like that. Now, Snapdragon 210 was 1.1 gigahertz quad-core ARM Cortex-A7, so it's a little less power on the clock speed, although it's a similar CPU. Better GPU than the 200 at Adreno 304. Not quite as good as the 400, although it's close. Supports LTE, supports 1080p video recording. So there's a lot of stuff there that wasn't there before. So the Snapdragon 200 is the Snapdragon 210 is kind of where the 400 used to be, although the clock speed is a little lower. Now, Snapdragon 210 V2, also known as Snapdragon 212 in the Lumia 650, is exactly like the Snapdragon 210, but it's 1.3 gigahertz quad-core ARM Cortex-A7, making it about the same as a Snapdragon 400. And remember, we have the 210 in the Lumia 550 here, so you do have some extra power. Well, it's not going to be a powerful phone. It should have about the same amount of power as a Lumia 640, although it does have a lot of new features, such as 720p AMOLED display. We've never seen AMOLED on a 600 series Lumia before. All right, I think it's pretty cool. It's a beautiful phone. 16 gigabytes of internal storage. We've never seen that in a 600 series Lumia before. 5 megapixel front camera. We didn't see that in the 640, which is 1 megapixel. We did see it in the 640 XL, though I don't consider the 640 XL to be a 600 series phone. It's technically a successor to the 1320, and since we're probably not going to see a 600 series XL phone again, I consider it to be part of the 1300 series. But I'm actually really excited about this phone, and I have been since they announced it. Now, the big flaw in the announcement was that they said that it was a business phone, which God knows why they would say that, because it doesn't support Continuum and it doesn't support Windows Hello. Continuum was supposed to be their big business feature, where you can use your phone as if it's like a laptop or desktop, depending on what you hook up the cable to. So, personally, I'm excited about the phone. I don't have enterprise uses. I have a Lumia 950, and I really don't use Continuum a lot. We see that it has a metal frame, and people ask, why wasn't the 950 designed that way? And when people say they hate the 950 design, I always say, just buy a Mozo case. This should not be a reason for you not to get the phone. If you wanted the new flagship Lumia, if you wanted the new flagship Windows phone, get it, and you can put a new cover on it. It's no reason to not get the thing you wanted. Anyway, guys, let's get the Lumia 650 open. All right, and here is the box. Standard Lumia box. This is what they've been looking like for a couple years now. One other thing that I didn't mention is that this phone only records 720p 30 frames per second, where the Lumia 640 did 1080p. It's not the first time we've seen a downgrade like that. Lumia 530 was a downgrade from the Lumia 520. 520 recorded 720p. And the 530 recorded 480p. Now, this is a beautiful phone. This is what we wanted to see from the Lumia 950. It's stunning. It's super light. It's super thin. Now, this comes in at 122 grams. Now, I'm going to double check and make sure the battery is not in the box. It's not. Although I do have a European charger here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. And then there's a little bit of paperwork here. That's all there is. That's all that comes in the box, or at least in the box that they sent me. Now it does feel light enough to where you would wonder if there's a battery in there. It's 122 grams. All right. 6.9 millimeters thick. That puts it at the exact thickness of an iPhone 6 and 7 grams lighter. So that's awesome. Honestly, I bought the iPhone 6. It was probably my favorite phone from 2014. I went there and you pick it up the first time and it feels amazing that a phone can be so thin and light and so just pleasant to hold, right? It's kind of incredible. I got that same feeling from the Billy 4.7 here, which is just a super light phone, and with the way that the OS scales on the Billy 4.7. This is Windows Phone 8.1, by the way. And everything is just kind of smaller and neater, and it's a really pleasant phone to use. All right, so we're setting this up. It's going to force me to reboot when I set the language, because Windows phones do that when you try to change the language when you boot it up. Now, the one downside to this phone, and I hate to say it, but it's Windows 10 Mobile. I know plenty of people that went out and bought a Lumia 950 or bought a Lumia 950 XL because they wanted the latest flagship Lumia. And then they went out and they bought a 930 or a 1520 because that latest flagship Lumia wasn't cutting it for them. And it's because you get random reboots, you get the app crashes, and it just doesn't work out. And at least if you have a 930 or an Icon, you know, the 930, you can upgrade it to Windows 10 through the Insider Preview. And you might not be able to record audio when you record video, but at least you'll be able to roll back if you want to. And with a Windows 10 device, with the Windows 10 mobile device, you don't have that option. Now, as far as the body of the phone goes, I mean, you can't ask for anything better than this. You really can't. I have 3 other phones with metal frames, or at least that look like metal frames, because the Lumia 950, as far as I know, the Mozo case actually is plastic and made to look like metal, right? But it's beautiful, these metal frames. But the 930, a lot of people complained about it, the Icon as well, that it was too heavy. And I get it. It is a pretty heavy phone. I mean, I don't think it's too heavy, right? And then you have the 830 here, which is a beautiful phone, especially if you have the gold one. But it is still a little heavy. The 950 was made to be a lot lighter, but this thing is fantastic. You know, I've spoken to a lot of people, especially when I reviewed the Billy 4.7, because I believe that the Billy 4.7 is the best sub $100 Windows phone. I don't know if it still is, but it was for a really long time. And people would say to me, you know what, I don't care if a phone is thin and light. What the hell do I care if a phone is thin and light? I said, you know, you really can't underestimate the importance of having a phone that's comfortable to hold or to carry. If you've owned a Lumia 1320, then you kind of know what I'm talking about, because when I reviewed the 1320, that was where I really had that revelation. I would carry this thing in my pockets, and I always wear cargo pants because I'm always carrying 4 or 5 phones at a time. So I would have this thing in the cargo pocket that's on my leg, and it would just be banging against my leg, and I have bruises on my knees because this phone was so heavy and thick and bulky and just so uncomfortable to carry around. So when you have a phone like this that's thin, light, beautiful, I mean, it's really a step in the right direction. I'm excited that it's AMOLED, and I'm going to be completely honest here. I don't think it's the AMOLED that we were kind of hoping for. If you're a longtime Windows Phone user, then you've seen the difference in the AMOLED displays from the 930 to the 950, where the 930, despite the fact that it's a lower resolution display, it really just looks better than the 950, which you can see right here. 930 is on the left, 950 is on the right. I really don't know what they did. Personally, I don't think you could tell a difference between 1080p and 1440p on a phone. I mean, my TV is 1080p, and I know I'm sitting further away from it, but when you got something that's 50 inches diagonally compared to 5 inches, I really don't think anyone can tell the difference between this and this. But all it is, it's a drain on the GPU and the battery. And we are back. The apps have finished installing. I find on some phones it really just takes a really long time to get those apps to install. Interestingly, you really don't have to be connected to Wi-Fi for that to happen. Um, Standard Windows 10 start screen. I didn't restore from any backup, and I've seen a lot of phones that have that background photo along with the blue. So yeah, it's pretty standard. This is a European model. It came from Lumia US, and I kind of asked, I'm like, is this a European model? Because, if it's an American model, that means it's coming to the United States. And he's like, no, it's an international model. This is great. Not a lot of junk on here, which I know it sounds silly, but that's impressive. I've seen quite a few Windows phones as of late that try to add on, and unlocked Windows phones that try to add on Candy Crush and Expedia and just a whole lot of stuff that I really don't want. There's a lot of great apps for Windows Phone. I know it's like a sin to say that, but there's a lot of apps that I love. Just none of them are the ones that come pre-installed. So I'm really impressed with the app selection here. It's all pretty minimal with the exception of Shazam there. What I see at the top, Group Me. I don't even know what that is. I'm sure someone will comment and let me know. But yeah, the phone is beautiful. I'm a little sad to say that the display looks more like the one they used with the Lumia 950 and 950 XL rather than the one that they used with the 930 and the Icon, which was just beautiful. So over the time that I have this, remember, by the way, it's not coming to the United States, or well, as it stands, it's supposedly coming to Cricket Wireless, as there is a user guide for a Cricket Wireless model out there right now. But no formal announcements have been made. They haven't admitted anything to me. But I wouldn't be surprised if it showed up for Cricket. Wouldn't be surprised if an unlocked model came to the Microsoft store. Because remember, they announced the phone, said it wasn't coming to the United States, and then announced the price in US dollars. Which, by the way, they do that a lot. And they have phones that they announce for the United States and not in US dollars, in euros or something, So yeah, by the way, we have micro USB here, which looks nice. I kind of like the way that they have the black there for the headphone port and the micro USB port. It's a stunning phone. I'm really excited to review it. If you haven't been following, I'm also in the middle of my Lumia 550 review, and I'm really excited to do these things side by side. Last October, Microsoft announced, obviously, Surface Pro 4 and Surface Book. They announced Lumia 950, Lumia 950 XL, and Lumia 550. And then in February, they announced this thing, Lumia 650. So out of the 4 Windows 10 mobile phones that Microsoft has released, I have 3 of them. And there were 2 on the lower end, and I have both of them. And I love that I can put them side by side. And I also have a Lumia 640 as well. So we can see how the 650 compares to the other phone that's on the lower end. Sorry, this thing keeps going to sleep. I think I have to change the settings. But we can see how it compares to the other phone on the lower end, the 550. And we can also see how it compares to its predecessor, the 640. I think it's going to blow the 640 away because the 640 really wasn't, in terms of CPU power, the 640 wasn't a big difference from the 635, other than 635 originally had 512 megabytes of RAM, but then they made a 1 gigabyte RAM variant. So Snapdragon 400, 1 gigabyte of RAM, that's the same as the Lumia 640. So all these things are similarly powered, but the 635 didn't have a front camera, it had a 5 megapixel rear camera with no flash, 480p display. So the 640 wasn't a lot more powerful, or really wasn't more powerful at all, especially if you had the 1 gigabyte variant of the 635, but it was a real upgrade in terms of features, and that's what I'm seeing from the Lumia 650 here. It's an upgrade in terms of features, an upgrade in terms of design, and honestly, if you have the entire um, 600 line, starting with the Windows 8, Phone 8.1 model, which this launched alongside Windows Phone 8.1, you have these things, and you can put them side by side, and you can see an incredible um, upgrade in terms of features. Went from 480p to HD to HD AMOLED. You know, the camera went from 5 megapixels with autofocus to 8 megapixels with autofocus and a flash. You know, and we also have 8 megapixels here, and I believe it has a bit of a larger aperture with f2.2, where I believe the 640 was f2.4, and they're both a quarter-inch sensors. All right. You know, no front camera to 1 megapixel to 5 megapixels, right? Really, this happened June 2014 or April 2014 is when they announced these phones, and or the Windows Phone 8.1 launch devices. And in those 2 years, right, this budget class of devices have really come such a long way, and I'm just so excited to review this phone. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna get to work on it. I'm Rich Woods from NeoWin, and have a great night.